For every woman who pours out and wonders who pour back in, this one's for you. Guard your heart, 'cause everything flows from within. You've been the river they lean on. Cup after cup you stay kind, but there's a quiet that's yours still, a room in you locked inside. You hold it down, never loud, still that grace finds you somehow. So let it rise, let it flow, let it show, let it glow. What they missed in you, what was always true. These are the hearts of women, the hearts of women, deep as the water, strong as the storm, flowing with purpose. We were reborn. You are not alone, not alone. No, you are not alone, not alone. These are the hearts of women. Sing it again. Grace in the fire, crown on your head. Every tear that you cried, water the seed instead. Stronger than you know, you know. Stronger than you know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to this month's Hearts of Women. How's everyone doing?
Well, doing really
Good,
well.
thank you.
Likewise, thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm excited about this conversation. I really am. I had to prepare myself, in the morning, getting ready, and you prepping and preparing yourself and praying and asking God for a good show. So I'm excited about what we're going to be doing here today. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone here that's in the chat who is coming to participate in this live, because we have, as we always say in our community, one of the livest chats and faithful chats on YouTube, I'm going to say. So I want to make sure that I personally thank everyone for being here who's in the chat so far. Crystal Everett, thank so much for Innovative Consulting and Solution Services for being here. Dr. Dwayne Dwyer for being here. Look, he got 3 names: a mindset coach. I don't know what Nick did. She gave him like 4 different titles. But Ms. Robin Brower for being here. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you for coming in. And we're going to need you as we start, because we want your audience participation is so important to these conversations that we're going to be having, because we want you to join in and in this conversation as well. So we're going to make sure that we include you, and we're going to have some questions for you. So be ready. And then we're going to share some of your responses, because I think it's so important that we be interactive in this, because we are coming together so we can learn and grow and be better versions of ourselves each and every day. So thank you guys so much for coming in. And so I want to ask everyone just to welcome and introduce yourself to the audience. If you don't mind, we can start with Maya. We'll go with Miss Adrian, and then Michelle Ray. Is Maya? Get your mic. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Maya. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. This is different for me, but I appreciate the challenge, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you joining us today.
Good morning. I'm Adrienne Walthour, and I am so honored to be amongst women of God to talk about our topic for today and get some insight on, how we used to think and now how we are thinking going forward as we are growing in Christ.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Ray. I'm grateful to be here this morning. I'm excited about what our community is doing with both men and women collaboratively. I'm just excited, and I'm grateful for this platform, being able to have these conversations.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. I'm Lisa Keys. I'm your host, also known as the Voice of Reason, and I am so excited about this conversation because it is something that I believe that many of us, not maybe a lot of us. I'm not going to say all of us have had this reflection and this thought. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just go ahead and do a brief intro so you can get an idea of what we're going to be talking about today. Okay. So I always I want to always do the intro by asking you a question, right? To see if this is something that would that you've thought about, or maybe a friend or family has asked this question to you as well, right? So have you ever looked back at your life and quietly asked yourself, where did the years go? Not because you were lazy, not because you stopped believing, or just life just began to move way too fast. Days became years and years became 15 years. And one morning you wake up and you think, should I be further along than this now? Is it too late for me? Do my dreams even come to pass? Or if you've ever thought, I want to know, um, I want to know why, and I think that's so important because a lot of times we ask ourselves why. So you're not alone in these thoughts, um, but you're not behind either. So I think that's so important. You can go ahead and take me off of the big screen if you don't mind. And so as we get started, I want to ask the very first question. You do not mind bringing up the first question. And the first question is going to be, when did you first notice, if you noticed, yourself measuring your life against a timeline that you never actually agreed to?
I'll jump out there first. I love this question. I thought it was a very self-reflective. You had to really dig deep to answer the question. And so when I realized I was spinning my wheels, living according to the timeline someone else set for me, that's what resonated. The wheel spinning wasn't just about my lack of visible progress. It was about running an engine built for someone else's road to travel. Um, it could put me in a space of being exhausted or exhausting myself completely and still arriving nowhere real because the designation was never mine to begin with. It was inherited. And then when I say inherited, I think about our parents' expectations, our church cultures, um, unspoken script from, people, friends, group spaces, a cultural clock that says by this age, I should have this, and this. By this year, I should be there. So I adopted the finish line without ever agreeing to the race.
That is so good. I love that, Michelle, because I had a similar thought too. For me, it was almost like a checklist and timeline. And I think back to church culture, like you mentioned, how once you graduated from high school, everybody was just kind of in that space where the only question they wanted to know was, did you have a boyfriend? Or are you thinking about getting married? Or when are you going to start your family? And so this invisible clock that your community sometimes will put on you, it starts ticking real, real loud, right? And I think that's when we start making some of the most detrimental mistakes. And for me, it was, okay, so I finished high school and now it is time for me to go to college and I got to get married and I got to have kids and I got to have, what they call it, the picket fence and the 2.5, whatever. And all these things on this checklist. And because, especially when you're that age, that 18 to 22 years of age, you're kind of not necessarily just impressionable, but you're running off of what society thinks, right? Because we're not really turning ourselves to look at what it is that he has planned for us. And so when I thought about that, it also led me straight to Jeremiah 29:11. If he has the plan, then why is this checklist and this timeline so significant? And why is it that we measure ourselves against us. Because if we are busy about his work and his word and walking behind him, then in chasing behind him, he has the plan. Why am I chasing behind what society, what my community, and all those things have put upon us, pressure us to get done in a certain timeline?
Let me ask you a question because you said a lot, right? So you said what society has placed on us, right? And the checklist that you mentioned that all of us have. So where did those come from?
I do think that a lot of it comes from your environment. I think a
Mhm.
lot of it comes from your community. I think a lot of it comes from society in general. I think it puts a undue pressure on women that we only are valued, right, until we reach these milestones in life. Children, being a wife, having a homeowner, being able to be a stay-at-home mom. All these having all these name brand and expensive things make us what society deem as successful, right? But that's what the world is putting pressure on us. It has absolutely nothing to do with what it is that the creator wants us to do. And he's made every one of us in his image, but uniquely in his image. And so why would we not have a unique assignment in this life? But I do believe that it does come from society, our environments as a whole.
Okay, so when you say environments, can you pinpoint the environment you're referring to?
So for me, to make it personal, it was my church environment,
Okay.
right? Because once you get out of high school, it's like, what else? And if you're not going away to college, like some girls went away for nursing and medical and all these things. Some of the ladies went to the military. But for those who went to community college or you went away, but you didn't go too far away where you could still come home on the weekend, you had those added pressures from the mature women mostly, right? What are you doing with your life? It's almost as if now what? And they needed to understand what it was that you were doing. And I guess hindsight being 2020, I think that they thought they were doing a good thing by keeping you focused on what it is that society deems as successful milestones for women. But for me, it was that you couldn't fellowship without someone asking, so again, you have a boyfriend. And if you did, well, have you guys talked about marriage? What does he do? Is he ready to have a family? Have you talked about those things? And it becomes to be a bombardment of those type of questions from, at least for me, from my church family. My family just want to be happy, right? But those became the pressuring conversations, the pressuring questions.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure a lot of people can relate with that, and that aspect. I was thinking foundationally like our main influences, like our parents, our aunties, cousins, and things of that nature. So that's why I asked the additional question. All right, Miss Maya.
So I never did things the conventional way. So that didn't bother me. I didn't measure myself against anybody's timeline, but I did catch the double-sided comments. I've always wanted a bunch of kids. And talking about that growing up, it was like, oh, you have all your life. Don't worry about it. You can wait. But then after you get to a certain age, those same comments turn into, you don't have kids yet? No, 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 ma'am. No, sir, I don't. So it's like everybody wants to tell you where you're supposed to be and not even have the conversation of what you want out of life. So it didn't bother me what other people thought or where other people thought that I should be. I just knew that I had a goal that I wanted to get to, and that's what I stuck to. And if that goal wasn't reached during a certain time period, it was okay because I still had time because I'm still alive to make it happen.
So do you think, or have you ever heard or have you ever thought this, that time equates to your value? Because I think I heard Adrian mention something similar to that. Or I'm going to say, because I don't want to use time, because we already know time does not belong to us. But do you think the cost that you paid for the things that you experienced, did they equate to your value? Anyone can answer
No,
that.
I never looked at it like that. To to be honest, I looked at it like everybody else had the problem trying to put that stuff on me.
Okay.
My answer might be a little different. I did for a very long time, probably up until about 5 years ago, where I kind of got comfortable with my life, right? So I didn't get married to my late 20s, which was according to society's timeline, I was behind. And then I didn't have children, right? And then my marriage ended. And then it almost seems like the pressure tripled, right? So what are you gonna do now? Like you gotta find somebody. Are you looking for somebody? Why you don't, are you dating? Are you then it came from everywhere. So how you mentioned it before, Lisa, about family and aunties and all of that, it came from everywhere except for my immediate family, my mom, my sisters. I never got that pressure from them, but going to family functions, the Christmas dinners and all of that stuff, every cousin, every aunt, every uncle was kind of like, I know this is like a backward compliment now, but they'd be like, "You're so pretty. Why can't you find somebody? Why can't you find some? You don't want to have?" And it's like, am I getting like, can I just live? Like, do I look sad? Am I just happy? Like, I just want to be here. Like, I love y'all, all the things. So, and I still get that, but I am so focused on what it is that he would have for me to do. Now it's just noise. But to this day, I still get that pressure being 46, not having kids, and then if you don't have what society standard is, then they impose a whole life on you don't know nothing about.
Okay.
Right? They give you you outside, or you this type of woman. They assign you all these extra things that don't even that are not, they're not even true. So it does, it becomes much more of a pressure cooker. But I had to understand that I'm exactly where the Most High would have me right now, and as long as I keep my eye focused on him, his plan is going to come to fruition, and it has absolutely nothing to do with outside voices and influences. Now I laugh, but it took me a while to kind of get comfortable in those environments, in those questions, and having answers for them. And I don't know if anybody else has ever felt like that, but even now I still get it. Like, I wish you would have had children. Like, oh, I'm glad you wish, but I'm glad I stuck to his plan. So
I know we have an audience question, so I did want to put the audience question up, because I think it's important that we do ask these questions as well. So, what is something someone said to you that labels you as you're behind, even if they meant it kindly? Even if they mean it kindly. So you can answer that question. You don't have to put it in the chat, but if you want to share, that is great. It's just something for us to consider and to think about, right? And then don't hold ourselves to, that thought, because we can always hear these undercurrents of comments, and so we have to be mindful not to own them as our own. That is someone else giving them to us. Because one of the things that I thought about as we begin to have this conversation, that in Ecclesiastes 3:11 says he has made everything beautiful in his time, not our time, in his time. And he said everything, all things beautiful in his time. And so that's one of the things that helped me to be mindful as I was reading through that. There's so many things that came to mind when I think about even eternity. And you know, I'll talk to Coach about this because I want to mention it in a Bible study. Some of the things that came to mind as I began to prepare for this discussion, because it was so much that God is beginning to teach us that we have to be mindful of. And I heard him say so much about the voices or society. So to me, that always goes back to identity. And like you said, whose voice are we listening to? You know, do we know who we are? Why are we listening to these voices? Why? I think for me, it's also an eternal battle that we're having with ourselves that we haven't quite came to terms with, right? That some of it is self-infliction, right? Because we are focusing on society, we are focusing on what someone else says, we are comparing ourselves to other people. So some of it is internal conflict that we are causing ourselves. And who said that? Uncle Joe, ain't nobody trying to hear that. Okay, so if there's any okay, it says let me go ahead and read this. I got to make my screen bigger. They have told my wife that she needs to have children. She's 33 and does not want any. Girl, you better hurry up and have some kids, is what we have heard before. So ain't nobody trying to hear that. So those outside pressures do, you know, they're there, you know, and we have this perceived timeline when God says everything is done in his time, not our time, but we still have to be mindful of the seasons. If you think about God, because God is so structured, right? And you can see every year, like the summer is getting ready to end, and then fall is going to come, and then winter is going to come. And this happens every year, every year. So there is a pattern that God wants us to observe in his timeline. And everything in his timeline is beautiful. That's what he said. So those are some of my thoughts as I think about this first question. Let me see if there's any more questions in the thought. Okay. If you put up, I'm sorry.
I thought about Galatians 1 and 10. I also had the same scripture you had, but Galatians 1 and 10 said, if we're still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. And so that just resonates with me because there's no way I can please man. That's not what my purpose is to please man. I can't even please God.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought about Galatians 1 and 10.
Okay, so I wanted to also add, excuse me, Michelle, I think that's good as well. Before I put up Dwayne, the mindset coach's comment, I want to put it up, but I think that's good as well. That, you know, we we allow other people to put things on us, and like you said, if we are following after some of the things that we know that are not lined up with God's will, and man is saying it to us, and then we're adopting it, that's something work that we have to do as well, right? Because we're taking on what they are suggesting to us. So as a man, let me, why my voice got like this. As a man, it's not what was said to me that made me feel behind. It was the pressures that I put on myself for not being where I felt I should be by a certain time in my life. I can say that is 100%, you know, my thought. I can say it's 100. And then I can say this as well, ladies. What he says, that reminds me of bless your heart comment. Okay, I'm sorry. He's talking Uncle Jim. Okay, so so this reminds me, I'm gonna tell you what I did. I think, and I want to show you the contrast and the difference, right? I think for society's measures, I met the requirements. I got married early, I had children, and all those things. That's what society said, right? And it still wasn't the best outcome for me. I'm thankful for all the experiences I had. I'm thankful for my children, but I can't say doing it the way society said to do it was the best outcome. I know it wasn't, because I'm getting my instructions from based on what was example before me in my home life, and then what I think I should have met, the goals I should have met. It still wasn't the best outcome. And I'm not saying that to say that I'm regretful. I'm thankful, but I think that when we all consider the different aspects from our life, when we can go back and we can look over our life, we can see that no matter what we decided, what role we took, what society advised, what our family advised, it still may not have been the outcome you were expecting. I'll say that. So I think
I like that transparency, Sister Lisa, simply because we didn't even understand that there was a blueprint for us to follow. God doesn't tell us to get married, right? He said to fear him and keep his commandments. And I believe all those other things will be added. So we're not concentrating or even thinking about anything that he said to us in the beginning, even as children in childhood, adolescent time frame. We're focusing on trying to get, as they say, get the goal, hit the goal. And we're being fed all these things from different perspectives and different people, not knowing that if I just stay here in this book, all of my indiscretions and trials, I'm going to have them. However, the outcome is going to be a little bit more tailored to giving him the glory, if that makes sense. So we didn't do that. So we did it on our own accord. We did it our own way. And this is what we're ended up with. As to say, you shall receive your reward. We gotten what we put in it. So I was just thinking about that as you were speaking about that. If we just studied that, stayed there, then our outcome probably would have been a little bit different.
yeah. But again, God makes everything beautiful in his time. So there's no there's no regret. There is no regret. And before we go to our next question, I want to also let the audience know that this code right here, you'll see it right in my box, the community support code. Everything goes back into our community. If you want to donate to our community, and you can go to our YouTube channel, and you will be able to see all the podcasts we do. We do a Bible study. There's so much that we're doing in our community to strengthen our community and make sure that we are sharing information that we feel what we know will be valuable for you. So please support our community, and thank you for even joining us today. So every third Saturday, you will see the Hearts of Women. So please subscribe to our channel, and make sure you comment. Here we want to hear from you. So please comment. And if you have any questions, we will try to make sure that we can answer your questions during this time, because I think that's very important as well. So just wanted to say that. Thank you guys again for joining us and for supporting our community. Thank you so much. Now we want to go to question number 3. Excuse me. So, what is the difference between a timeline you set for yourself and a timeline God actually gave you? And
the difference is it's going to go his way anyway, right? All these unnecessary pressures that I put on myself about some of the most minute stuff that doesn't even matter, even down to when you're gonna just purchase patio for it. Some of the stuff that we put on ourselves is it's insanity. But I understand where it comes from. The pressure always comes from outside influences. But even like for if you want educational purposes, we use that for an example. I'm gonna have this degree in this time, and I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take this degree in this time, and then life happens in the middle, and then you look up and your pre-planned that you set for yourself destiny, and didn't even consult God in any of it. Because at the end of the day, no matter what we want to do, if it's in His will, it's gonna get done. But if it's not, we still gonna be chasing it. We're still gonna be added extra pressures for us. Every moment of our lives was predetermined by Him long ago. So all that undue pressure that we placed on ourselves is fruitless, right? And so when we're talking about that timeline you set for yourself, you really and truly need to bring those wants before the Lord, because if we're delighting ourselves in Him, what He wants would then become what we want. But the big difference is it's what we choose that we want for our lives, and we don't consult Him. Because if we consulted Him and we really and truly prayed and thought about some of the things that He wanted for our lives and the things that the scriptures tell us that we need to be focused on, then we would understand that our timeline isn't going to matter anyway.
I like that. I like what you said, Sister Adrian, and I wanted to read Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision awaits its appointed time, it will surely come. It will not delay. So the difference I see is that a self-set timeline is built from comparison, fear, control, my inability to really gather what it is that I'm doing. And it's about me keeping that pace with others. And it's also about me avoiding shame while I'm doing it. Where in God's timeline, it is revealed through obedience, His peace, and a process, not through pressure, right? Because the scriptures say He doesn't put up more on us than we can bear. So it's going to be done in His time frame, the way that He wants it done. And like you said, it doesn't matter when you go back to it, it's going to bring us back to Him anyway. So whereas one is anxious, as I think about it, one is going to be anxious and the other one is going to demand us to be hurry, 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 hurry. And the other one is going to be patient and it's going to produce some growth. He's going to stretch and pull us while we're doing it. Because remember, it's in His time. So there's going to be some lessons being taught throughout that. And then growth, I can't rush it. He's going to grow me in His time and season. And we kind of mentioned that earlier. So that's what I thought about the difference between Him and myself.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that question, and I'm going to ask Miss Maya to respond if she doesn't mind.
So the difference between the timeline that I set for myself and the timeline that God actually gave me is protection. I had all of these things that I wanted to do, and life just kept getting in the way and things kept shifting. But when I looked at it in its totality, I could have been in spaces where things weren't going right that put me in a bad situation. So all of that for me was protection, and it's actually been happening my whole life. Different things happening with peers and me having to do something else, being pulled away from that, and then coming to find out that turned out to be a bad situation. But I was supposed to be there. Joining the military, that wasn't in my plans. I told her it was crazy because I was working in the mayor's office at home, and the police would come and drop off checks on Fridays and pick up, or drop off time cards and pick up checks. So every other Friday. So one Tuesday, an officer came in and was like, "Can I speak to you? You know, it doesn't look nice you being in our office on the weekends and in this office during the week. You ever thought about joining the military?" Absolutely not. But my mom made me go talk to the recruiter, and she told me all the bad things first, and then she told me that different aspects of different jobs, and they have real lives, and it was just a job. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. And 21 years later, it was like, man, that went by fast. But all the stuff that happened to the people that I was hanging around with at the time, it wasn't meant for me to be there. So for me, it's definitely protection. And the challenge is control, because there's things that I want to do. But thank you for that, Michelle. The control aspect of it is really, I don't have control, and I have to yield to what he has for me and be comfortable with that. Because in the long run, it ends up being a good thing, and I'm thankful for it.
So I do want to get the question that we have pinned in the comments, but I wanted to say to Maya the exact same thing. Protection is my thought, right? So when I look back and I see the condition of where I was in that environment, and that God took me out of that environment, even though I didn't know I wasn't supposed to remain in that environment, I think that made the difference, because now I can see it. That was intentional. He took me out of an environment that was not going to be conducive to my growth. But I didn't see it in the moment because I was just going through the motion. But then when you look back and you can see and you can really truly observe, you can see the timeline and what God is doing. And listen, not saying that even though you were moved, all that was roses and peaches and flowers and skipping through the rose beds. But it did make me see that it was a better place for me to be than where I was removed from. So I wanted to add that. And then Ms. Brower had a point in here we wanted to mention as well. Thank you so much for contributing to the conversation, because we really want to hear from you guys. So ultimately, a timeline you set for yourself is built on expectations, while a timeline God gives you is built on trust. Now, I like that. I like that. Did we know that though? If we really go back, did we know that we were supposed to be walking in trust? I want just everybody can answer that question.
I don't believe that we did, because again, first of all, we really wasn't studying the word to understand it.
We was in church.
I was in church, but I mean, but that's how we were doing though, Sister Lisa. We were in church though. We was just there. We didn't even know our purpose. If somebody asked us what our purpose was, we'll say, come to church. We wouldn't know that our purpose is to obey God and fear him and obey his commandments. But that wouldn't have came out of our mouths back then. We were just doing the very best that we understood from where we was getting the information. And so Robin's comment was like spot on, because we didn't trust in God, because we were still doing things the way that we wanted to do.
Ms. Maya, your thoughts about that one?
A friend of mine said one time about someone else, she goes to church, she's not in church. So when you don't know what the word is and you just showing up to the building, you're not receiving all that you're supposed to get. You're not learning the lessons that you're supposed to learn. So the trust, I can't say is there, because you don't know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. And what about you, Miss Adrian?
I would say, going back to the checklist thing, Sunday morning I got up, got dressed, I was cute, I showed up, You know, I clapped, I was sang in the choir, I talked to my friends, and I got back in my car, and that went the rest of my Sunday, right? So it became to be that checklist, right? And so I love that saying, Maya. I think I'm gonna take that one from me. Going to church, right? Because I went, check, right? But understanding what the purpose of what being in community in a church is supposed to be. And I sadly to say a lot of us don't really experience what the purpose is, let alone what our purpose is. You know, we're kind of taught, not necessarily said, that you be a good person and you believe in God and you confess Jesus, then everything will work out.
Mhm.
Well, it's a little more than that, because we got to understand that He has more for us to do. There's more that we need to understand about Him so that we can align ourselves with Him, right? And so when it became the checklist, just the thing to do, the place to go, like you show up for work, then it does lose its purpose as far as what it is that He made it for. It's supposed to be for community. We're supposed to be there. We're supposed to, first of all, we're supposed to understand and learn the word at home and then go there to have that reinforced, right? But when you don't have the foundational parts of that, and you think that that's just something you're supposed to do because you're the good girl or you're the good guy or you're the good family or the upstanding family, the community people, all these titles that we place upon ourselves or society places on us that we have been kind of indoctrinated in, it doesn't have anything to do with for what our purpose is. And I loved that when you said that, because it actually comes full circle. That's that fight against what it is that society has put it on us. We start to adopt those things, and then we start to measure those things against not only the blueprint that society has, but then we start to measure those things against our peers too. Well, she got married and I'm still looking for my husband. Or, well, she's got 2 kids now. I only got one. I got to hurry up and have another kid. Or, okay, well, she had her kids really early and now I got kids that are younger and our kids are graduating high school and now they're taking vacations and I'm still here packing lunches and all those things. And then you got me and I ain't got none of those. And I'm just like, but like, I'm so grateful now that I had to go through all those things, all those thoughts, all of the junk, filtering some of the stuff just to have the one still moment with Him, asking Him what it is that He would have for me to do. And so just having that question at the forefront of my mind, understanding that the focus is on Him, what is it that He would have for my life, it quiets the noise. And it's loud, but it quiets the noise, because then I just bring that center point that just goes right back to Him. So let Him talk, let Him put all the pressures on you. You know, I'm kind of used to it now. Matter of fact, if somebody doesn't even ask me now, I'm like, am I in the right place? But every time they ask, it makes me focus right back on Him. It puts my focus right back on Him, because I don't take all that junk in anymore.
That's good. So for somebody who's listening, right, and who may be experiencing some of these pressures that you are talking about now, right, and there were a couple things that you said that I really wanted us to highlight, because now we're talking about church culture, upbringing, foundational teaching, and the things that we learned growing up as children, and the influence that we got from our parents and our environment, right? So when you said what I heard was a social club. That's what I heard. What I heard was we were socializing. The word of God says, "Come not to forsake the assembling ourselves together," right? But there's so much that was left off in that assembly, right? We're supposed to be coming together to hear the word, that it be reinforced. And when you said it's supposed to be taught at home, and then it's supposed to be reinforced when we go into that environment. So I would like each of us to answer this question, right? So do you think that those teaching at home would have helped when you went into this, the saints coming together to assemble themselves together? Do you think that would have helped you in understanding being taught at home first and then being reinforced?
I believe so. The whole entire posture of the church building, the people in the building would have been different. The posture would have been godly instead of, we understand we can do some backbiting and, doing things outside of what he's asked us to do. But the posture would have been, the focus would have been him. So therefore, it wouldn't have left room for us to even get involved with anything else because we come in to hear the word. We're coming to hear the prophecies go forward. We're here to hear the prophetic word. His word is prophetic. And so outside of that, we did a lot of other things. It did become a social hour. Hey girl, when we're going out to eat, girl, ooh, look at her shoes. Girl, ooh, I love mother's hat. What she focus is just all over the place. So yes, ma'am, I think the posture of the entire church inside the building, not and with the kingdom and being in the body of Christ, our posture, we're seeing it now. It would have just been a different back then. The posture itself, everybody's focus would have been one mind, one unit, one Christ, one body.
So I was sent to church on a church van that came around and pick up the kids. So the lessons that were taught were received, but that same in that same token, everybody at home was still at home and the kids were at church. So it wasn't necessarily reinforced in the home. So a lot of that was like, okay, I'm getting this on Sunday, but that's only one day a week. And every other day, it's just like, I'm doing me. So I feel like if it was more focused on everybody doing it together as a whole, things could have turned out a lot different. But then in the same token, I think about lessons learned, because all experiences, good and bad, are learning experiences. And had things been different, I wouldn't be who I am today. So, but I do feel as though it needs to be a whole family thing and not just go ahead and go to church and lead the grown-ups to do what the grown-ups want to do. I think that everybody needs to be involved in order for the children to be able to grow up with a good understanding that's going to stick, because not everybody that was on that Sunday school van was doing what they were supposed to do growing up.
Oh my God, I love these. I love that aspect of it, right? Being not being taught at home, but you still have some exposure, right? And then you took us back to that the Ecclesiastics 3:11. He have made everything beautiful in his time. Because when you think about everything that we learned, we experienced, every trial and tribulation that we endured, it made us who we are today. So in his time, it's always going to be beautiful, no matter what. That's what it took me back to when Maya just shared that. So thank you, Maya, for that perspective of the question. Miss Adrian, did you respond to it already?
I did, but as I was sitting here listening, I had a thought, right? Because we're talking about church culture and how we are not quite there to do what the purpose of it is, right?
Mhm.
And I thought about when you said social club and all the things that happen. And I don't know why this just jumped into my head, but although we're talking about some of the experiences and the pressures that we have, especially as younger girls or younger women growing up, I think about the girls who got pregnant in church and very young. And I don't know why this never dawned on me, but I can only imagine even the pressures that they got, right? Or young and just being in the neighborhood, right, in the community, and they were very young, and the pressures that they got, the ridicule, the all of the negative feedback and or positive feedback that they could have endured, and where it took their self-proclaimed timeline, what pressures society put upon those young ladies. um, and I didn't think about the other side of it, but I do know community and church has such a for those of us have gone has had such an impact on us, especially younger growing up, how some of those pressures also affected them, right? And even though it would not have, not necessarily wasn't, my particular circumstances, but I can only imagine that type of pressure, and then having your own timeline, and then not having the environment that you are learning about Christ at home and supposed to be reinforced in the church, and then just being a young woman growing up or a young person growing up and all the pressures that come with that. And it just, I feel like the Holy Spirit just pricked me to say there's another side to that too, right? So those that didn't meet the timeline, and then you have those who sped the timeline up that society gave us and the pressures that come with that. But just understanding that he knows the plans. He knows the plans he has for us. And like you said, everything in his timing. But that just came to mind, and just kind of wanted to explore that a little bit.
Well, as Maya said, while they was on that church bus, everybody wasn't doing what they're supposed to be doing on the church bus. That's what she said. So you had to be mindful, because there were some missing elements in the upbringing, right? There was some lack of instructions. So then we have consequences because there's no direction. And so because the lack of instructions, then you're subject to the rule and the stairs, as was put it in the was placed in the chat, the stairs and the consequences of others. And I remember growing up in that era where if the girl was pregnant, that they will always say it's always going to be your baby, and it's not going to, and he's not going to be responsible. He's going to leave. You would hear all those things. That was a scare tactic of teaching you, versus saying, versus teaching that this is what God instructed us to do. This is why he gave us these instructions to live our life in this way, because this is kingdom. It's a more healthy environment for you, for your family, for your children. So some of those basic elements of teaching and bringing a family up some of them weren't taught, because there was so much other stuff that we were hearing in those environments. Now, I grew up telling my age, in the 70s and the 80s, as a young child. So those are some of the things that, that I remember as you guys were talking, that I remember that was, being said. And so we have to be mindful of those things. So Crystal said, my daughter got in trouble on the church bus. So I know, listen, Crystal didn't play with the kids. Crystal did not play with the kids. And then, but you know what, when Maya said that, you have to think about it, right? Because that's what happened a lot. The church buses, the children were placed on the church buses. They went to church, and there was someone else teaching them what they should have been being taught at home, right? So they was missing information. So, there's going to be this level of mischievousness in them, because they're like, well, I'm over here just to have fun. I'm just trying to get out the house.
And get free snacks. They get
yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you think about that, right? When you think about all of that foundation that we grew up under, right? And then we still are comparing ourselves with these timelines. And when you really consider the aspect of everything and how we could have done it better, it does truly make you think into it. It really does, right? And so I want to go ahead and go to the next question. I think it was question number 4, I think. Okay. So, and I think we probably touched on some of this, but what does saying stuck in I'm behind actually cost a person over years? Not just on a bad day, but what does staying stuck in I'm behind actually cost a person over the years? You keep on having this mindset that I'm stuck. I can't move forward. What does that cost you year after year?
I'll jump out there and say peace of mind. Um, it it
Peace
those
of mind. Constantly.
You going, Maya? You going
Thank
in and
you.
out?
Constantly comparing yourself to somebody else or to a timeline is undue stress that could possibly lead to anxiety and depression from having to meet line or the stresses of having to meet that timeline. So it's peace of mind.
Okay, but you can go ahead and finish up, Adrian, because you guys were saying the same thing. But Maya just having some little delays. I can see she's freezing up, so she may not be hearing. So she's not interjecting and over talking you. I think it's just that her connection is a little is freezing up a little.
no, Maya's fine. I love that we were on one accord right there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, absolutely peace of mind. Everything she said, right? Ditto for everything that she said. And you start to do this comparison thing, right? That it steals your joy. That's what scripture says, right? It's going to steal your joy. And you can't even be happy about some of the smallest things that you get excited about, right? For me, one of the things that kind of helped shift my thinking when it came to where I was in my life and why I wasn't remarried and all the things, right, is I started to garden because I know in Bible study we talk a lot about the harvest, right? We talk about the weeding, the cultivating the earth, the planting, all those things. So I started to really get into what started with my flowers, and now I'm doing like a vegetable garden. I got like a little raised garden bed, and you talk about something that makes you be patient, right? And really and truly, like the act of gardening really makes you think about how it is that we're supposed to be in our minds and in our hearts and how we are to be clearing out the weeds. And you got to make sure you all got good soil, and you've got to make sure you're tilling it, and you got to make sure that you fertilizing it. And it really brought that full circle, right, for me, as far as what it looks like waiting on the Most High. Because just as those plants are going to grow or not going to grow or going to be huge or going to be small, all of that is in his timing, right? So we can plant the same thing, and if I don't get as much sun in my backyard as you, I might get little bitty vegetables, you might get great big old vegetables, but he is the one that is doing the growing, right? We can do all the cultivating of the earth, we can plant the seed, but we have to wait for him to grow those things.
That's good. That's good.
Sister Adrian is all in my notes for TikTok tomorrow. Stem elongation. I love that you said that. That's just confirmation. The question that what does staying stuck in my mind actually cost? It costs joy again. It costs the joy in the present time. And it's traded for anxiety about the future. That's what it seems like. That's what you see. And we all know that if we're believers, anxiety doesn't even rest in our it doesn't resonate, shouldn't resonate with us. It also like corrodes the contentment part of me as a person rather than being joyful again. And it also breeds, here we go, comparison in relationships. It also leads to rush decisions made from fear rather than conviction. And also it gives us a sense of we need to enter into a relationship too soon. We need to take this job because I need this money. You take a job that just probably doesn't align with who you really and truly are as a person. And you panic about it. And also friendships are strained by competitiveness. I remember and experienced that when I was in the military. Just women wanted to compete all the time. And I'm like, you do see this man right here, right? Why are you competing against me, sis? You know? So experiencing that, and then, plainly over the years, it can harden into an identity built on lack instead of on who God says I am. So this is where my focus is going. This is where my focus is. And this is where my identity lies. And that's not what he says. So that's the gist of it right there. There's so many things that you just self-induce on yourself. When you think about it, just trust in God and move forward.
Okay, I did. I wanted to answer this question. Well, thank you, ladies, for everything you said. I know Adrian said something. They in the chats like, what did she say? So, so it's a blessing. But this is my thoughts when I thought about this question. Right, I thought about when you are so focused on yourself, right, versus the people who your family, maybe you have a wife or you have a husband and children and your friends, and when your focus is stuck there, you're limiting and you're taking away and almost robbing people of being in relationship with you because you're stuck on focus about yourself, right? I'm stuck, I'm behind. And then I think those are the times right there when you're constantly in this cycle of I'm stuck. I think those are the times you need to come to a solution. You need to have someone who's accountable with you and say, listen, I think it's time for you to go, maybe talk to someone, right? Get some advice. Find out why you are staying in this cycle of I'm stuck, because it's not helping your family or the people who are around you and your children. They need to see you in the very best light that they can see you in, because that is going to impact their life moving forward. So when we stay in that mindset that I'm stuck, I'm behind, I didn't achieve this, where that's, to me, that's being self-centered and is focusing on me. Now, I am responsible to do this self-examination, consider my ways, and do this work to make sure that I am the most healthiest being that I can be for the family that I'm a part of. Yet I cannot make it all about me, because in a marriage, you're one flesh. So if it's affecting you, it's affecting him or her. You're married, So, and then your children are seeing this. So it's so important that we do the work. We recognize this cycle that we may be going through, and we talk to someone about it, because it's important for us moving forward, and then moving forward in the environment that we're creating, for our family and our children and their examples. Because guess what they're going to do? They're going to take that same comparison that you are using. I'm stuck, I'm behind. They heard you say it. They're going to take that same mindset with them when they go. Train up a child in the way that they should go. What are you training up? What are you putting in them that they should go? Are they taking that with them? And now, are they going to have to go do the work? Yes, to unpack, to understand why they're feeling this way. So those are my thoughts when it came to that question. And I just think it's important for us to really, truly take our time to be mindful of when we get to this place where we feel stuck. Go seek someone outside of yourself. That's why it requires two of us to be in relationship. It requires both of us. So I just wanted to say that. And we're going to go. I think this is going to be we're on our last question. I think it's question number 5. Yeah. So, what would it take for you to say the quiet part out loud to someone this week? What would it take?
I think it goes back to a decision that I made, or need to make.
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to manage that feeling alone. That means that me texting or calling one person and naming it plainly. I've been, comparing my life to a timeline and swearing down on me, confessing like this loss is power the moment I speak it into, an environment. This is what I need to stop doing, is the out loudness. Like, we're not supposed to speak things into our existence. When we say things out loud, we're pretty much putting it into the atmosphere and calling it what it is.
Mhm.
So the moment I make a decision to stop doing that, and how do you feel alone when we understand that God is omnipresent? He's omnipotent. He's everywhere. So am I feeling alone just because I want to say that? Or am I really alone because I don't know him? That I think about that, and it was funny. I kind of talked to Coach about during Hurricane Helene, my walls like closed in on me. I was like, I am by myself. And I said, but Michelle, you're a believer. What are you doing? But the house was so quiet and so still. And I just found myself in a place of not even understanding what being alone really looked like. I looked at it as an emotion instead of him being with me always, and have always been. Um, so I kind of see that's the quiet part of, like you said, safe this week. Just confessing that the loss of power the moment I speak it into a safe company of a person that I understand is a trusted person or trustworthiness person.
For me, I would say the quiet part out loud would be to get rid of the standard that society is putting on you. There is no such thing. There is no blueprint. There is no timeline. There is no, you cannot fall behind because he designed it anyway. Appreciate those moments of solitude. Take those moments to talk to God out loud, especially if you live alone. Can't nobody call you, Lulu, because you talking out loud to God. It's just you and him in it anyway. You're not alone. He is always there. He is ever present. Take those moments to focus on him, getting to know him. Take advantage of those times that you can go for a walk and talk to him. Go be in the house and put on some inspirational music. Take that time to fill it with his spirit. Fill it with all the good things that he has for you. And it will eventually take those societal pressures, those anxieties that can turn into depression because you're trying to keep up with this imaginary timeline. It will take those moments and it will allow you to see the joy in your own life. It may not look like your neighbors, but it's not supposed to be. He designed us uniquely. And in those moments that you have an opportunity where you even may see something you may want, the relationship, the marriage, the children, the whole thing, thank God for where you are because he is still developing you. That may be that time that he is cultivating the ground. And the last thing I would say is impulsive decisions regarding your life can be costly. And that cost can weigh heavily on you mentally, spiritually, and may get you off your path. So don't make impulsive decisions when it comes to your life. Wait on him, look for him in every situation, and it will help you walk closer, not just with him, but with the plan he has for you.
What would it take for you to say the quiet part out loud to someone safe this week? For those people who may be introverts, I would say to be mindful of who has your best interests at heart and speak up to that person, find the intestinal fortitude to be honest with that person. But you have to be honest with yourself first as far as what your needs are and who can help you. I have two people that I am completely transparent with, and it's difficult when you're used to doing things on your own. You're used to managing and fixing problems. It's hard, but you have to again be honest with yourself as far as who has your best interests at heart and who can help you through those hard times.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I thank you guys, each of you guys, for your contribution, for your thoughts, and such good advice that you guys have shared with us and with the everyone in the chat. If that for me to answer this question, um, and when I think about a place that is comfortable and safe, I think about community. And sometimes you don't want to be vulnerable because you think that people are going to judge you for your vulnerability, and that is also a scare tactic because we need each other, right? And and I hear Coach say, he asked this question, so, who am I? Who is the person you're talking to? Do you really understand that they're in relationship with you and they have your best interest at heart? And I think that's important to understand as well. So if you have a community, and I think Maya mentioned it, being an introvert, um, or and you're so used to handling everything and doing everything and making sure that everything is in order and everything is running the way it's supposed to be, those are really the people who need to sit back and say, let me think about this, because I'm taking care of everything, and I need to be mindful of my mental as well, because if I do not, then I'm not going to be good for anyone else. And I know that's difficult, especially because I run my own business, and it's a lot that I have to take on, and I think that I can do it all myself. Well, I know now that that is not true. It's never meant in this life that we live. We are never meant to do anything alone. Never. And if anyone says that I did this, no, you didn't do it all by yourself. Stop it. If you just think about it, you did not do it by yourself. There was someone who aided you, but you may not want to attribute them to being the one who helped you. But they did. We can't do this. We can't take this journey alone. We have to do it together. And so I think it's important for those who have a community who can sit down and who can, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. These are my thoughts. Or maybe say, I may need to go to therapy. That may be the thing that you may need to, say out loud, right? I think it's time for me to go to therapy and talk to someone, because it's so important. There used to be a stigma in our community where that wasn't something that we did, but now I think more so we're open to, making sure that we can, to talk to someone. And but I think for us, we have a really good community, and we can be transparent with each other. So I think that's important as well. So I just want to say that, in closing, that it's so important that you have a community and someone that you can talk to. Don't stay stuck. You are not isolated. You're not isolated. If you need a place to come and fellowship with, we're here. I hope you've subscribed to the channel, and we're here weekly. We don't just do this once every third Saturday. We do something weekly. And we do a lot. We are together often. So if you want to be in an environment, even if you want to just come and listen in, I think that's important for you to have a place that you can call community. And we want to just do that formal invite to anyone who is listening and who may not have that place where they can come and they can learn and we can grow together. It's not a social club, but this is a place where we're coming together with the kingdom mindset so we can grow and learn and have a what Christ said, I came that you would have life and have life more abundantly. And that's what it's about. Each and every day, each and every week that we come together, and we're so thankful for this opportunity. So thank you again for joining the Hearts of Women, and we will see you next month on the third Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have a wonderful month.
She the first one up early. Late night prayers by the bed. She keep the peas at the table with a smile and a stare.